Welcome to a very sunny Texas. El Paso, Texas, basically is where we're starting. We're going to go on Texas Highway 20. And it's an interesting history to this road because technically Texas Highway 20, this version, is only started about 1969, where most of the roads like this were like in the 20s and 30s. But Texas Highway 20 was a different road previous, to today. And this used to be a different road as well. It's actually part of different historic trails that went basically along the border with Texas and Mexico. And so we're going to take Texas Highway 20 today. We're starting in the town of Anthony, and it's basically on the outskirts of El Paso, kind of northwest corner of El Paso. We're right on the state line with New Mexico and Texas, and that's where Texas Highway 20 technically starts. And so we're going to take it as far as we can. We're going to go right through El Paso. I'll probably zip through El Paso because there's so much to see in a place like El Paso. I want to try to show the other places along this road. And then when we get to the end of 20, another road continues on along the border, and we'll take that as far as we can go. So we'll see what adventures lie ahead here on the border. I'm sure we'll see over into Mexico quite a bit. So yeah, we'll get started here in Anthony and start heading south and then to the east. Right about here, I actually made a wrong turn, or I should say I didn't make the turn. As 20 goes a little bit east and I kept heading south, this is Route 85, and I realized that when I saw the wall on my right, and that's Mexico right there on the right, and I thought, oops, I'm gonna have to go back and turn around. But it was a very scenic little part of the road and nobody on it. I turned around, and right here by Donovan Park there were some cool old abandoned buildings. And then there was the historical site for the old Fort Bliss officers' headquarters, and so that was nice to see. Obviously, wouldn't have planned on going down to see that, but some pretty grand old structures there. But the highlight was Rosa's Cantina. Have you ever heard the old country western song El Paso by Marty Robbins? This is the Rosa's Cantina, of which they speak in the song. And it was great to go there. It's one of my favorite country songs, and they even have all the words to the song El Paso there on the wall. So that was a great mistake I made. We're starting to roll into El Paso, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to do a deep dive into El Paso. It's, there's over 1 million people that live in the area here, and there's a lot of great YouTube videos about El Paso, so I'm just going to pass through El Paso and maybe even speed up the camera work a little bit. There are a ton of great old buildings in downtown El Paso. There was actually a football bowl game here that day, so some of the roads were closed off and I wasn't able to drive through some of the main parts of downtown. But as I'm turning there, that's starting to head east now. We've been basically heading south till we get into the middle of El Paso, then we're heading east. But yeah, El Paso is a great city, very, very historic, as you see some of the fun facts I'm putting at the bottom of the screen, and certainly a place that deserves a well-made video with some great historical information all throughout. But we're trying to get out to the outskirts and more of the rural areas that Highway 20 is going to take us now. As we're leaving El Paso and heading more into the suburbs, there's some incredibly historic places. Some of the oldest settlements in the area are down this way called the Mission Trail. And they're not exactly right on Highway 20, so I'm turning off and going back. This is Socorro and some great old buildings like these missions to check out. For me, being not from this area, I'm not real familiar with a lot of the history here, but there were some nice displays. But these towns were not laid out in a normal kind of Midwestern style, so it wasn't real easy finding all the historic places, but did my best to find a few of them and show you here. It's pretty cool finding a couple of these old missions, but it all feels like an extension of El Paso. It just feels like we're still almost in the city because there's just constantly buildings, and it's hard to know where a town begins and where another town ends. So yeah, I think we're going to be getting out into some more wide open places eventually, but it is what it is right now. We're just kind of grinding our way through and finding some cool stuff for sure. There's a lot of pretty cool old buildings, but there's so many buildings. There's old buildings, but there's new buildings, and so it's not like a historic little spot where there's a bunch of them together. It's all spread out. So I'm enjoying it. There's a nice little historic downtown here in San Elizario, and that's a statue of Billy the Kid, because this is the county jail from 1850 to 1866. And he freed the only man to ever escape from this jail. Kind of a interesting little fun fact. This town was actually the county seat of El Paso County from 1868 until 1873. That was the first county seat of this county. this is difficult to try to figure out some of these towns and what's there to see. You know, when there's a bunch of towns and the towns aren't set up like traditional towns, like a Midwestern town where you have a main street and all these buildings, and you can go there and pretty much see what is historical. But there has been, a lot of churches, a lot of historical churches in this area. It's starting to get more spread out and wide open. We are almost to the end of Texas 20, and we are in Fort Hancock, Texas. And Fort Hancock, I am aware of because of a movie reference. Can you guess it before I say it? It is the Shawshank Redemption. And right here in Fort Hancock, this is where Andy Dufresne in the movie crossed over to get into Mexico to as he was escaping the prison, and would have crossed here and headed down to Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Would have been right here, this little pull off on the side of the road. The town is actually really interesting. There's a lot of old buildings. There's certainly people that are there and people that are, in a community here. It's kind of right here on 20, they have some old abandoned buildings. They have the post office where he would have mailed the postcard to Red. And so that's pretty cool. And then, we have been paralleling I-10, and so you kind of shoot up to I-10. There's modern convenience stores and things like that up there. Well, I crossed over where Andy Dufresne crossed over. It was a bit of an ordeal. I'm in Mexico right now. I'm turning around and going back. They didn't speak any English. We had to do Google Translate, but they went through everything. They were taking pictures. Yeah, my drone is all kind of upside down right now. But yeah, they were taking pictures of everything, and it took a while. I held up traffic. It looks like this is a place where people come across kind of on a daily basis, maybe, people that live in this area, and they know them. They didn't know me. Anyways, I thought it'd be quick being such a little small one, but I'm heading back to the United States. I'm guessing it's gonna be 10 times longer to get through. The crossing back into the United States was 10 times easier. I couldn't believe it. They immediately, when I talked about Shawshank Redemption, they got it, and said, hey, did they give you a hard time on the other side? And I go, yeah. And so yeah, it was kind of funny. They were curious about how the other side, what they thought of me coming over. So anyways, I don't know how often people do that, but yeah, it's kind of fun. Knocked off Mexico in this trip. We have made it to the end of Texas Highway 20, Texas 20, and we're not done yet though. We've got a couple hours of daylight left, so let's use them. So if there's a road here that continues on, we got to turn and go over kind of towards the border. It's Route 192, so it goes a little bit farther. I don't think there's much down that way, but we'll keep taking this, you know, along the border as far as we can go. That little abandoned post office and store, Esperanza, looked pretty cool. And the head stuff up on the hill, I was going to get my drone out, but it looked like there were two ranches on either side of that property. And I didn't, you know, they were out there working, so I didn't want to, you know, be like, here's a drone flying over this stuff where people are just out there in the middle of nowhere. People aren't used to stuff like that. So if I ever see someone, sometimes I might talk to them or might say, hey, what is this? But if they're working, if they're on a tractor and they're out there in the field, I'm not gonna try to flag them down. They're too busy to deal with me. But this is a beautiful little drive off the side. You know, this certainly at least paved back road, and doesn't go too much farther, but finding things like that little ghost town was pretty cool. It is a very quiet road back here, and I was driving along and over here saw something, and it's actually a cemetery. This is called the Fort Quitman Cemetery. I guess maybe there was a fort here. On the map it says Fort Quitman Cemetery. Wow. Everything seems to be like 30s and 40s if they have a headstone, and there's ones like this. Very interesting. So this is pretty interesting. The road is right over there, and this is Mexico, I think, right there. Is this the wall? road keeps going. It looks like that's the wall, and I found the end of it. Hey, Mexico. That was certainly interesting. The wall just ends right there. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I knew they talk about still needing to build the wall, build more of it, I guess. But maybe that's where they need to continue building. There's no one anywhere out here. At least I haven't seen anybody. So we're coming to the end of this road, and in order to get to civilization, we're gonna have to turn left and go probably on a dirt road. So there won't be anything there in terms of towns, but hopefully it'll be a nice scenic drive, probably as the sun is setting. So I'm glad I took this road though, just seeing the end of that wall and a couple little ghost town type places. It's, man, never know what you'll find unless you take the road less traveled, that's for sure. This is a rocky and bumpy road. Definitely need to take my time and not get a flat tire. It looks very scenic. Hopefully we'll enjoy it. I think it's about 20 miles to like Sierra Blanca is the town, I believe. So let's we'll head this way and see if we can make it. And no flat tires. Certainly if you've watched this channel before, you know I have changed a couple flat tires in the middle of these trips. So, all right, here we go. Like that car. That's freaking tough. This is stressful driving. I think I'm through the hardest part, but you're just constantly looking at the rocks, not wanting to hit one. And it's sun is setting, so we are, you know, a couple things dealing with here. I would not recommend this drive unless you're very confident in your tires, which I'm not 100% confident. I'm okay confident. They're new tires, and I've got a good vehicle, so you need to make sure you got a high clearance vehicle because you got everything. I'm in sand right now, then you have jagged rocks up and down. It's really beautiful. I'm not being able to enjoy it. Hopefully you're enjoying some of it. was going to fly the drone multiple times through here, but I'm just trying to get to the end before dark, because if something happened, like a flat tire, and I'm out here trying to change this in the dark, like that wouldn't be very good. So probably no more drone footage, but we got the GoPro in the car getting a little bit of footage. I've seen 2 cars, both broken down, didn't make it. Hopefully mine isn't the third. And we have hit pavement. I didn't think there was going to be pavement until we get to the town. So, woo, man. It's beautiful sunset. I have not been able to enjoy it one bit. Not trying to, hopefully I'm not being overly dramatic here, but that was not fun. And I definitely would have went back all the way and came down paved roads if I'd known it would have been that bad. But I went on YouTube to see if anybody had ever documented this road, and there was like 2 little short clips, like 20 seconds or something. I can see why. It's definitely a hard place to document. So yeah, that's going to be the end of our trip, because we're rolling into town. Had a really interesting day. It seemed like it took forever to get out of El Paso and the towns that were like in the El Paso area. And there was some cool stuff like in El Paso, but I was really more interested in getting out of El Paso, and then found some cool small towns there along, right along the border, and kind of just as we got out of El Paso, and then heading down, I think it was 192. That was a cool drive. It was really remote out there. Found the end of the wall, and yeah, this last part was the least fun, but feel good now, and I hope you enjoyed it. You know, you hear all kinds of stuff about this part of the country. You know, you hear about the politics of it, and yeah, I've had an enjoyable day, and except for that last little stressful part, but all the towns I've been to, people that seem nice, and there's beautiful architecture and history to be learned, and it's the great thing about our country. We got so many different types of places and people, and it's fun to learn about all of them. So I'm glad I came down here, and hope you enjoyed the video, and glad I survived. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And now that you're here, let me tell you a little bit about some of the extras that we have on the channel. One of the things you can do is you can become a member. There's 3 levels. There's the supporter level, there's the producer level, and the executive producer level. And all 3 levels have different perks, and as you are more supportive financially, there's more perks. You know, we have extra videos every week and a lot of fun stuff going on in the member section. If you haven't done so, make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. We've got lots of extra stuff on there, and one of the things is merchandise. You can get you Travel with a Wise Guy t-shirt. We have Death Go Round t-shirts. We have some coffee mugs, different things that are a lot of fun, and people seem to have enjoyed. Good quality there. Also on the website, you can do things like check out the Google map. I have a pin dropped in every place I've done videos about, then a link to the video, so you can look at the map, and maybe there's somewhere where you live or somewhere you want to go. You can check out that map, and it seemed to be a very popular thing. You can sign up for my newsletter. I do that about every 3 weeks. It's totally free. And there's also all kinds of other links and tidbits in there, old videos, podcasts, just everything I could think of I throw on the website. So make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. Thank you for everyone who has been supportive of this channel, and thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Hey, Mexico. I just hit a rock. My phone's in Mexico. My phone's in the United States.